There are millions of videos telling you how to improve in Apex Legends. Play ranked, play pubs, download Kovacs or AimLab, but none of these actually cover your options if you don't have access to aim trainers if you play on console, or simply choose not to use them. In this video, I will show you how you can use firing range to actually improve in Apex Legends and get better. So the first thing I would like to show you is this very known Easter egg, which will enable these dummies to move and shoot back at you. Step 1. Locate this specific tunnel. Step 2. Drop all your belongings. Step 3. Get on top of this steel platform. Using Pathfinder is the easiest. Step 4. Look down, crouch. For this you might want to use your toggle crouch button instead of the normal crouch. Press M or escape and switch your character. If you did this right, you should hear a clicking sound. Now just slide down and your dummies are waiting. This is more of a fun exercise you can do. I don't really recommend people doing this because the time you spend in this one is not as productive as you could be. And also the dummies are really easy to kill. So if you do this for a lot of time, it can actually lead to then underestimating your opponents in the game. I would recommend you to only do this exercise to physically warm up your hands. And when you actually do it, try to do fancy stuff. Something you have not done before, such as quick scoping with the Peacekeeper, aiming close range with the Wingman, Kraber no scopes. Basically, try to put yourself into weird situations on purpose, so when you're in the game later, you're used to that certain situation and you don't panic. Also, make sure you stay until the end of the video, where I will be sharing some tips and tricks on how to actually further enhance your experience in the firing range. Also, for most of the exercises I will be showing you, you do need another person in the firing range with you. So grab your teammate or a friend and let's go. The second training is very similar to the dummies. You get your friend, you pick up guns, and you are pretty much playing on these platforms. And every time you get cracked, you switch the armor from the ground. Again, this is more for the physical warm-up and also is a lot of fun to play. You can use head glitches, you can use these weapon racks as cover, and just play around. The next training exercise that people do is 1v1 around this sand block. This one is not one of my favorites though, as usually the first person to jump on top of the sand block wins the fight. You can jump on top of the sand block, you can go around the sand block, and regardless of what I just said, it's a fun exercise and a very good exercise to improve on tracking and strafing. This one is my favorite. This is the exercise around these metal plates. You start on one side each and you go around, you go on top, you do whatever it takes to kill the other person. One thing I don't want you to be doing though is do not peek through the middle while crouching, as then it kind of defeats the main idea of improving playing around a small obstacle. One particular thing that this exercise is very good at is if you climb on top and then you do a super glide into then killing your enemy. In terms of guns, I usually pick the old school combo R9 Wingman, however, play whatever you feel like playing. Try not to abuse certain mechanics here. For example, if you already shot your entire R99 mech and you're forced to switch to your Wingman, try to not hip fire, even though it's easier and probably better, but try to realize what you're here for. Try to actually go through the effort of aiming down sights and trying to hit your shots. This will benefit you long time way more. Also, very satisfying. Another great 1v1 exercise I do with my students is on top of this helipad. You start with your weapons holstered, and on the count of 3, you switch to friendly fire, you pick up a gun, and you start firing. This training exercise will improve your ability to strafe while shooting and learning how to efficiently move. For example, if you move way too much or if you don't move at all. You can then add some diversity into it by decreasing or increasing the starting distance or simply rushing the other opponent from the beginning. This exercise will teach you how to properly ratio your efforts in terms of how much brain to allocate to moving and how much brain to allocate to shooting. Then it's very fun to see when you actually both try to dodge the other's bullets and then you end up killing each other on the second or third Wingman mag. Or when you try to hit the most of your shots and not think about the movement as much, then you'll end up killing the other player in 6, 7, 8 Wingman shots. My old teammate Tycoon actually showed me this training exercise and we had a blast playing it. You both start on the same spot, but obviously the other side. And when one of you pinks, you both peek towards the same direction to the left side, and with your full attachment R99, you try to one-clip each other. Regardless of one-clipping each other or not, you should not be shooting more bullets after the first mag. This will then lead to you having to adjust the ratio between the amount of movement you do and the amount of aiming you do. And so if you put more effort into aiming, your movement will be worse. And this goes both ways. So if you put more effort into moving, your aim will be less perfect. And here comes the moment where you have to decide for yourself what works for you the most. Whether you want to crouch spam and therefore not get hit, or you want to have a bit of a slower movement so your aim can be more still. So I suggest you bring a teammate or a friend that is on a similar skill as you are. Another very valuable skill you can learn in the firing range is Bubblefights. Now this is pretty straightforward. You throw a bubble down and then one guy places Gibraltar and defends the bubble, and the other player can be a Gibraltar as well, or it can be a Wraith. Then you both try to play a shotgun or your other favorite gun and you fight. Just make sure when you do this you're actually using the wall of the bubble as cover and to actually try to recreate in-game scenarios. Here I would recommend to training with the Peacekeeper and the Mastiff and possibly Mozambique hammer points. Let's not forget about the actual targets that firing range has. The first exercise is only about exercising and training your jitter-aiming skills, so you generally pick the furthest target that you're comfortable shooting at and you try to hit all your shots. If you want to know how to jitter-aim, then feel free to take a look at my video about jitter-aiming. The most famous spots to train your jitter-aiming at are from the tunnels where you spawn towards the targets in the middle, and then from the weapon racks on the targets in the back. The next training exercise I would advise you to do is focused on flicking, as well as target switching and quick aiming. Your aim here is to flick as quick as you can and as accurately as you can, because we'll be aiming for headshots. You will start with a headshot on the dummy, flick to the first left target, then again headshot on the dummy, flick right first target, then headshot on the dummy, and then the second targets, left and right, dummy again, and the third targets, left and right, dummy again. Try to use a gun that doesn't have a big per bullet damage, so using a R99, using a P20 is ideal. Let's jump into the movement category now. If you watched my video on how to wall jump in Apex, you should know that you can delay your wall jump, and this tower is a perfect place where you can practice it. You can also practice delayed wall jump into a tap strafe and then getting around one wall of the tower. This area around the tower is also pretty good if you just want to practice wall jumping in general. If you'd like to practice super gliding, for example, this smooth sand block or the steel plates on the side are a great place to do that. Welcome to the last part of this video, where I will tell you a couple of tricks and tips that I use to have even better experience in 1v1ing my teammates and friends in the firing range. Tip number 1. Pick the same attachments and, if possible, pick the same guns as your opponent. When it comes to the attachments, I do not recommend you pick the best ones. Pick blue or white, as these are the attachments that you often find in the game itself. Tip number 2. Try to not use your abilities. So for example, if you're playing as Wraith and then you try to face out of a fight, it's kind of just prolonging the entire process. If you already failed, just fail and go again, because your enemy will most likely just chase you down anyways, as firing range does not have many corners or buildings that you can hide behind. Tip number 3. Try to always play Wraith. Not only she's liked by many players, but she also offers small, therefore good hitboxes for training. Because the hitboxes are small, they are therefore harder to hit, so you will have a harder time killing each other. Every time you get knocked, don't actually wait until your teammate respawns you. Just click escape, swap character, swap to random character, and then swap back to Wraith instantly. This will not only fully heal you, but it will also reload your gun. So technically, if you never reload while you're alive, you will never need to pick up more ammo at the bottom. Every time you do this though, every time you switch your character, your guns will still have a due pickup animation. So make sure that every time you get respawned, you pick up both of your guns into your hand, get rid of that animation, so when you actually fight, you don't lose because your wingman is spinning. Tip number 4, try to only take what you want to take from this video. Every single scenario, every single exercise I just showed you is fully customizable. You don't need to do anything and you can do everything from the exercise. The most important thing is make sure you like what you're doing. There is nothing worse than a burnout because you made your schedule or you made your training exercises way too boring and it's killing you and you just not want to train. And don't forget to actually play the game. There is nothing worse than a mechanically cracked player who has no clue what to do in an example situation. The amount of training time should not exceed more than 25% of your entire day's time to invest in Apex. So if you have 10 hours to play Apex, it's completely fine to implement 1 to 2 hours of training in between these 10 hours. Or if one day your homies are not on the game, it's completely fine to do training as well. Just make sure you actually want to train. Do not under any circumstances force yourself to train. My goal with this video was to show people that it's completely possible to train in the firing range without use of any external and third-party applications. If this video was helpful and you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to let me know in the comments what your favorite firing range exercise is, or if you have any suggestions to all the other players trying to improve. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.